This is the perfect RIA, in case you didn't know. Bringing you all the strategies to help your business grow. Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Are you hanging on the edge of your seat? Sit back and listen in while you feel the beat, yeah! Another myth bites the dust.
Hello, TPR Nation. This is Amber Kuhn from the Perfect REA. Thank you for joining me on today's Follow-Up Friday, where I'll be covering the highlights and action items from this week's episodes. This week's episodes all centered around delegation and bringing on an executive or virtual assistant. On Monday, Matt and Micah kicked off the episode by talking about events, which require a lot of planning to set up, and that you need to think about how much responsibility you're taking on versus bringing in a team member to help. You need to think about how you get the resources to make your event rock solid if you don't have someone who's an actual event person. But here's the thing. They said there's options besides hiring someone full-time and on staff in your office. Micah said he'll hire people on contract to handle those overflow tasks. They then become the relief staff. He said that creates a different commitment level for him than bringing on someone full-time. Matt and Micah brought in a lot of virtual people, so they talked about how to find them, how it works, warnings, and what happens when it doesn't work. Micah said this is an expense he can easily cut because he can bring a contractor in for a limited time. So when there's that limited time and limited scope, it makes it easier for him to move forward. Micah shared how he first hired a virtual assistant overseas and how he had so much fear and head trash. Now his executive assistant pretty much has all the information for Micah except for his bank account. He said the more information I give them and empower them to do their job, the better it is. Matt said you need to remember that you get what you pay for. So if you want the kind of person who's going to be booking your flights and using your credit card, this is going to be a more expensive, higher caliber person. Micah said working with a virtual assistant is a way to bring on the caliber of a full-time employee with that part-time pay. He recommends that you go with a higher-end virtual assistant. Said if you default to a lower-end one, you may not even know what you need. This is critical, especially if this is your first time bringing someone on. But if you go with someone higher caliber, they're going to know the questions and think of the things that you maybe haven't. Another benefit to using someone on the higher end that Matt shared is that they're also going to be more proactive. Micah will have his VA follow up on things that he's ordered, and a tip that he shared is that you should share what are the things that you're doing this week. Your VA should be able to look at that and see which of those tasks they can take away. Matt shared that it's easy to fall victim to, oh, well, I'll just do this on my own, such as booking flights. But it still takes you some time to do this and to make the decision. So this is a great one for VA to manage. Micah said it's important to understand and embrace that mistakes will happen. So when you're bringing anyone onto your team, you want to have that discussion of what can jeopardize your employment and what doesn't. He said the biggest thing when a mistake happens is to see if someone followed the process. Ultimately, it does require a lot of work to plan for and bring an assistant on, but the guy said the outcome is worth it. This is all about the highest and best use of your time. For Micah, he said, if I can delegate something to a team member that allows me to free up my decision-making ability so I can engage with more clients and add more value, the entire team wins. Now, a mistake Matt sees advisors make are people saying that they'll only hire someone once they get all the processes written. But the beauty is that a VA can write these processes. A pro tip from Micah is when you have someone coming on to build a process, they have no idea what you want. So you want to do the process with them. Record it, and every time you click on something, explain what the decision was and why you made that decision. From there, then have that EA or VA document the process step by step so that you can then review it. He said that's creating a framework for success. Matt and Micah then talked through how to actually find a VA, including things that didn't work out for them. Micah tried Google, Upwork, and Elance, and he said he was being cheap and thought he could figure it out on his own. But they said that especially when you're starting out, they recommend that you use an agency such as Belay, because they're going to help filter and find the right person. What they like with the agency is that if it's not working out for whatever reason, they can reach out to that agency who will then find someone who will work. That's a time saver, including the training involved. Let's get into action items. Hire a virtual assistant and look to see how much more efficient your life will become. And once you do this, you can't go back. And then as soon as your virtual assistant starts, have them sign you up for the TPR and RTS live events at the end of September. You can sign up by visiting theperfectra.com. On this week's What Works Wednesday, Matt was joined by Tricia, the CEO of Belay. Belay provides virtual assistants to entrepreneurs all over the country. They serve over 3,000 clients and engage with over 2,000 virtual assistants. They offer a real work from home option for people, and they get to serve leaders who want to up their game and do what they need to do to focus on their business. Matt is always encouraging advisors to get an assistant, and he uses Belay himself, so he has that personal experience with how amazing they are. Matt and Tricia talk through the benefits of hiring a virtual assistant, as well as some mistakes that people make when choosing to start this process. One mistake people make are that they think bringing on a virtual assistant will be quick and easy. But Tricia said, like anything, it takes time and commitment. And the more you put into it, the more you'll get out of it. Another mistake people have is that thinking that things will be faster if you just do it yourself. But Tricia said you can look at this as how long does it take you to teach someone? And then realize that you'll never have to do that task again. So teaching for 5 minutes will get you back those 5 minutes forever. She said the bottom line is we all have an assistant. It's just a matter if it's you or someone else. So where's a good place to start? Matt's EA handles his travel and email, and Tricia said that the easiest thing you can get off your plate is calendar management. Tricia's EA will also help with social media, and she'll handle the logistics and agenda and planning for meetings. Matt and Tricia then talked about how once an advisor is on board with bringing on an assistant, there's then an uncertainty over how to find one. So part of the beauty of working with a company like Belay is that they're taking that HR function off of the executive. They're writing the job description, posting the job, going through the interview process, and so on. So once someone comes to them, they're ready with a person who has already been vetted. Tricia said they're also vetting clients in addition to the virtual assistant so that everyone is winning when they put that match together. They want the match to be successful. And they want to understand where the client is in regards to delegation and bringing on a VA. And they want to evaluate that starting point so they're clear on where they need to begin. Matt and Tricia talked about balance and what would change in your life if you got back 5 or 10 hours of your week. What would you do with that time and that mental energy? Tricia said they want to help people get to the place where they don't have to work in burnout or hustle mode. And instead, they can hand certain tasks over to someone else so that you can then focus on other things. Matt and Tricia wrapped up by talking about being successful with communicating with a VA, as well as how to handle mistakes. Tricia has one structured face-to-face meeting each week with her EA. That allows them to have clarity for what they need to do. Outside of that, they're communicating throughout the day. For Matt, he meets with his EA once a week, and then they have a running document where they add things. Also, during these meetings, Tricia's assistant will send her recaps of where she's at with everything, and it's a reminder for her as to what her assistant is doing. So what about mistakes? Matt and Tricia said no matter how well trained someone is, mistakes are going to happen. And it's easy to get upset, but instead look at this as an opportunity to see where the communication broke down so you can address the system and not the person. So if there's a misunderstanding or breakdown in that process, you want to give grace. Look to find a solution. It's also important to own your mistakes and go directly into that solution mode. Let's get into action items from Wednesday's episode. Belay is offering the perfect RIA listeners access to their ebook, Rise Up and Lead Well, How Leveraging an Assistant Will Change Your Life and Maximize Your Time. To get this, all you have to do is text RIA to 55123. Start a list of things that are taking your time and your mental energy that could be delegated to someone else. Actually do a study on your time. So over 1 to 2 weeks, notate what you're spending your time on. After that, walk through that delegation exercise to see what's possible to take off your list. If you're going to delegate scheduling and calendaring, set up the ideal work week so that your assistant has this information. That then gives them freedom to schedule on your behalf. If you're ready to level up your game, hire a VA today and work with them for at least 3 months. Reach out to us at lifestyle@theperfectra.com to let us know how this has transformed your life. On this week's Worlds to Conquer, Jamie continued the discussion of bringing a VA or an EA on and shared some of the important tasks that her EA manages. Jamie kicked off the episode by talking about some of the events that her EA handles, such as the team retreat, which their office does right before Surge, as well as client events. Jamie's EA is responsible for coordinating the team retreat and handling all the logistics. Part of her responsibility was getting together with Jamie when they did this retreat, where she took down all of Jamie's ideas, put everything down on paper, and created a book that broke down the events for the retreat. It included why it was so important that the team was there, what they were holding their retreat for, both for the team and for their spouses. That way, everyone understands the significance of what they're doing and why they need to be supportive. In addition to the team retreat, Jamie's EA is also handling her client events, such as wine tastings. She's answering all the questions and people are going directly to her EA instead of Jamie. The EA is showing up an hour before Jamie does. She's following up with everyone involved and she's setting the expectations with the staff. This ends up being a tremendous amount of weight off Jamie during those events. Jamie talked through how she communicates with her EA and some of the additional tasks that she's responsible for. They have a standing meeting each week and they'll follow up on things and she'll bring up headlines or things to think about. Then they'll go over those things that need to be identified and solved. Jamie gives her EA a lot of authority to make decisions. This is something that needs to be set with a new person and they won't just know when they come in. And in addition, if there's something new that's coming up, Jamie's EA is already coming up with a solution and being a problem solver instead of just presenting Jamie with questions and issues. Jamie stressed that however you choose to communicate with your EA or VA is exactly how you will get communicated back. What starts in the beginning will last till the end. So you want to create a communication policy that allows them to problem solve first and then escalate to you. Other things that Jamie's EA will help with is inbox and scheduling management. Jamie said her EA organizes her entire life. After they do any type of event or surge, they do an after-action report that will show what they want to do differently. Her EA will break this down into categories and will provide the budget information as well as how this can improve for the next event. Jamie wrapped up the episode by talking about how when you're selecting an EA or VA, this person needs to be someone who values privacy and confidentiality, and they need to know the appropriate level of sharing information. Let's get into action items from Thursday's episode. Look at different resources for hiring a virtual assistant or an executive assistant. You can reach out to us at lifestyletheperfectRA.com for information and recommendations. For research and reporting, you want to have a communication policy in place. Spend 10 minutes creating a template that your assistant can use to give you information exactly how you like to receive it. Lastly, think about what does the rest of your year look like in terms of events. Get those started and on the calendar. And when you hire your EA or your VA, let them plan out the details, but be sure to articulate what the goal of the event is. That wraps up this week's recap. Thank you for joining me on today's Follow-Up Friday. Be sure to give us 5 stars wherever you're enjoying this podcast and share this or any of our episodes with another advisor or a team member who you think might benefit from listening. And until next time, happy planning.
Hold on before we go. Something that you need to know. This isn't tax, legal, or investment advice. That isn't our intent. Information designed to change lives. Financial planning can make you thrive. Start today, don't think twice. Be a better husband, father, mother, and wife. The perfect RIA, the perfect RIA.